Task number 2 is to complete this conflict sort. You might want to get out your notes that we took in your notebook on the different types of conflict, man versus man versus nature, those. So the first slide I'm going to go through right now is an example slide. This shows what you're going to do. Conflict sort. Identify the conflict present in the mini story by dragging it to the appropriate box. In each example, highlight the protagonist in green and the antagonist in red. See the example on the next slide for help. So the protagonist is the person who is the main character, and the antagonist is what's creating conflict. So in the example, it says Jack Juniper is the best fighter pilot in the Air Force. He can take down an enemy jet while doing a barrel roll. One day, while Jack is escorting some friendly pilots to a military base, something that Jack has never seen before attacks the convoy. Aliens. Can Jack outmaneuver the highly skilled alien pilots, or is this mission doomed to failure? This story has a main character of Jack Juniper, and the thing that's creating conflict for it is an alien, which makes the conflict a person versus supernatural. So I would highlight Jack in green, the antagonist in red, and drag it to the box where it says person versus supernatural. So your slide looks like this. Same thing. Identify the protagonist in green and the antagonist in red. After breaking his mother's favorite vase, Casey struggles to decide whether he should tell his mother the truth or attempt to hide his mistake and blame the family dog. Look at your notes and think about this story. Think about who the main character is, the protagonist, and highlight it in green. If you're struggling with figuring out the antagonist and which type of conflict it is, skip it. Go to another one. Do the ones that you know right away first, and then go back and do process of elimination. The next one says, Brian has the best dog in the world. In fact, he has one of the only dogs in the world. That's because dogs are not allowed in Brian's world, where people believe that dogs spread diseases. Brian's dog will be taken if he is caught. Soon, Brian learns of a mysterious underground dog owners club and joins the fight to legalize dogs. Can Brian and his new friends prove to the world that dogs are safe and friendly? So you're going to go highlight the protagonist in green, think about the antagonist in red, and drag it to the right box. I'm going to go on to the next couple slides, but I'm going to come back and I will read these. And if you want to hear me read them to help speed the process along, you can come back to the screen. But you're going to do slide 2 and slide 3 looks the same way. You'll see there are 4 different mini stories, and you're going to highlight them and drag them in. So slides 2 and 3 look like that. And then the last slide is a review of compound sentences. Compound sentences and simple sentences. So a simple sentence has one subject and one verb. That tells us it's simple. The other type of sentence is compound, where you have a subject plus a verb with a comma and a coordinating conjunction, and then another subject plus a verb. Sometimes, I always say if you want to really impress your English teacher, instead of using a comma conjunction, you could use a semicolon with a subject plus a verb. So if I look at the first sentence, it says, Mama had never laughed, but Liddy and Charles and the babies had laughed so hard. Well, right away, I can see that there's a comma and a coordinating conjunction. So I'm going to look on the left and think, is that a complete sentence? Mama had never laughed. And then on the other side, I'm going to read the other part. Liddy and Charles and the babies had laughed so hard. So I can tell there's a subject and a verb on both sides of the comma conjunction. So I'm going to highlight this in green. And then I'm going to go to the next sentence and see which formula it follows to complete this. Okay, so this task is due by the end of this period, so make sure that you stay focused. Now, if you want to go back and have me read the mini stories, you can go back to slide 2 as I read. The third example, and what I would do is pause the screencast and see if you can figure out, do the highlighting and the dragging and dropping, and then restart the screencast to continue. So the third story says, it's the year 3030, and society is completely dependent on computers and robots. A young boy named Domino is flying his hovering board to school when all the machines start attacking people due to a powerful computer virus. What will Domino do now that the machines that are supposed to help him have turned against him? So pause the screencast, label it. If you can figure out which one it is, go drag and drop it in there, and then restart the screencast for the next one. Kiko is a ninja warrior trained by Mountain Master Yoho Marathi. When Master Marathi is slain by Shan Bhutan of the Lotus Clan in the most cowardly of fashions, Kiko lays it all on the line to avenge the death of his master. Will Kiko overcome Shan Bhutan and the powerful Lotus Clan? So you're going to highlight the protagonist in green, the antagonist in red, and decide, is that a person versus person self, person versus society, and person versus technology. Each of these should fit in one of the boxes. So again, do process of elimination. When you're ready to go to the next slide, go ahead and I'll read these to you. When Diego and his buddies accepted Dare to stay in an old abandoned house, they knew that it would be scary, but they had no idea just how scary it would be. As his friends begin disappearing one by one, Diego learns that the house is not abandoned at all, but inhabited by a vampire. Diego no longer cares about spending the night in the house. All he cares about now is getting out alive. Will he escape or be a vampire's lunch? Pause the screencast, highlight your protagonist in green, the antagonist in red, and decide which box it fits into and drag it over there. When you're ready, start again. It's Carly's 8th grade year, and she wants to graduate more than anything else. Unfortunately, she's been playing in her reading class, and now she's backed into a corner. She has to get a perfect score on the final exam, or she won't graduate. With the help of a foreign exchange student whom she calls Beans, Carly studies harder than ever. Will it be enough? The next one. Annie and her family live on a farm in rural Kansas. When a huge storm rolls in suddenly, she and her family must retreat to the shelter, but all the animals are out grazing. Worse still, a tornado has been spotted in the area. Will Annie and her family be able to rustle the livestock into the barn in time? And then the last one. Elia Yelnats makes a deal with Madame Zeroni so he can marry a woman named Myra. Unfortunately, he does not fulfill his promise of carrying Madame Zeroni up a mountain, so she curses him and his family. Years later, his great-great-grandson, Stanley, must battle against this curse after being sent to Camp Green Lake for getting caught with stolen sneakers. Okay, I'm going to go ahead if you want me to and go to the last slide, and I will read these sentences as well. If that helps. If not, you can just keep going. When you're done, make sure you submit this task. We already did number 1. Number 2, he had fetched in wood from the shed and left the door ajar. Number 3, Charles and she would try to mend, but he was only 10 and she 13. There was the door to mend, the mess to be cleaned up, and the wasted porridge. Number 5, then she watched a pair of swallows dive and soar around the huge chimney in the center of the main house. The pastures, a lush green scene, were dotted with merino sheep and fat milk cows. Number 7, Charlie wanted to go fishing on Saturday. He would borrow a pole from the neighbor. Number 8, the encounter was over, for the stout woman had come out of the kitchen door to hurry the lady. She was running a little to catch up with the guests at the front door. And then the last one, the large woman was beginning to take the food from the fire. All right, well, I hope that helped you. If you have any questions, you can go back and rewatch parts of the screencast, but this is due by the end of the period, so make sure you complete it and turn it in.